Hello, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Haunted Locations. Today, we are going to explore some of the most spooky and spine-chilling places in Connecticut, a state with a long and dark history of witch trials, mental hospitals, and paranormal activity. Are you ready to get scared? Let's begin. Number 5, Fairfield Hills State Hospital, Newtown, Connecticut. Our first stop is Fairfield Hills State Hospital, a former mental institution that operated from 1931 to 1995. During its time, the hospital was notorious for its brutal and inhumane treatments of its patients, such as lobotomies, electroshock therapy, and hydrotherapy. Many patients died or committed suicide in the hospital, and some of them are said to still haunt the premises. Visitors have reported hearing disembodied voices, screams, and crying, as well as seeing apparitions of former staff and patients in white. Some of the buildings are still standing, and you can explore them at your own risk. But be warned, you might not like what you find inside. The hospital was built to ease the overcrowding of two other state hospitals, but it soon became overcrowded itself. The hospital contained 16 buildings on 100 acres, plus another 670 acres of land around them. The acreage consisted of large farm meadows and a forest. A circular network of roads connected the buildings. The hospital opened and received its first patients on June 1, 1933, from Connecticut Valley Hospital. There were initially fewer than 500 patients, and only 3 doctors. By the late 1960s, Fairfield Hills housed more than 4,000 patients, 20 doctors, 50 nurses, and 100 assorted other employees. The hospital was also the site of several tragedies and crimes. In 1919, a fire broke out in one of the buildings, killing 2 employees. The cause of the fire was never determined, but some suspect it was arson. In 1993, a patient stabbed another patient to death in a bathroom. The records from Fairfield Hills Hospital are located in restricted files at the Connecticut State Library and Archives, and contain information about the patients, the personnel, and the medical staff. Some of the records include details of birth and deportation, autopsies, and medical examiner cases. On December 8, 1995, the facility was closed and patients were transferred to the Connecticut Valley Hospital in Middletown. The town of Newtown rented out the first floor of Canaan House from the mid-1990s up until 2005. It was home to the town's Board of Education, Planning, and Zoning, and Fire Marshal. The town acquired the entire parcel from the state in 2004, and has been renovating the grounds since 2015. Some of the buildings are now used for town-related business and offices, but some of the haunting buildings remain, surrounded by tall chain-link fences and warning signs. The underground tunnels that were used to shuttle patients between their treatments have been mostly removed or filled in with concrete, but some are still intact. The hospital is considered one of the most haunted places in Connecticut, and has attracted many paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. Some of the paranormal phenomena that have been reported include shadowy figures, glowing orbs, and demonic creatures. Others say they have experienced a sense of dread, oppression, and silence, as if the town is devoid of any life. Some even say they have lost their sanity or their lives after visiting Fairfield Hills. Number 4, Union Cemetery, Easton, Connecticut. Next, we head to Union Cemetery, one of the oldest and most haunted cemeteries in Connecticut. The cemetery dates back to the 1700s, and is home to many unmarked graves and restless spirits. The most famous ghost here is the White Lady, a woman with long dark hair and a white nightgown and bonnet. She is often seen wandering along Route 59 and Route 111, sometimes causing car accidents. She has been captured on film by famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who also wrote a book about her. No one knows for sure who she is, but some say she is the mother of a murdered girl, or a victim of a violent crime herself. Another entity that lurks in the cemetery is Red Eyes, a pair of glowing red eyes that peer out from the bushes and chase anyone who dares to enter the cemetery at night. The cemetery is located near Stepney Road in Easton, Connecticut, and covers about 2 acres of land. It contains about 400 gravestones, some of which are very old and worn. The cemetery is surrounded by a stone wall and a wrought iron fence, and has a sign that reads Union Cemetery. The cemetery is open to the public during the day, but closed at night. However, some people have managed to sneak in after dark, hoping to catch a glimpse of the paranormal. The White Lady is the most well-known and documented ghost in the cemetery. She is described as being between 5 feet 2 inches and 5 feet 6 inches tall, with long black hair that reaches her waist. She wears a white gown that covers her feet, and a white bonnet that covers her ears. She has a pale complexion and a sad expression on her face. She is usually seen floating or walking along the roads near the cemetery, or sitting on a tombstone. She sometimes appears in front of cars, causing them to swerve or crash. She has also been seen inside cars, sitting in the back seat or next to the driver. She does not seem to be malicious, but rather lost and confused. The origin of the White Lady is a mystery, but there are several theories and legends. One theory is that she is the ghost of a woman who died in childbirth, and was buried in the cemetery. She is looking for her baby, who was buried in another cemetery. Another theory is that she is the ghost of a woman who was murdered by her husband, and dumped in a sinkhole near the cemetery. She is looking for justice, or revenge. Another theory is that she is the ghost of a woman who was killed in a car accident near the cemetery, and does not realize that she is dead. She is looking for help, or a way to cross over. The White Lady has been investigated by many paranormal researchers, most notably Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are famous for their involvement in cases such as the Amityville Horror, The Conjuring, and the Annabelle doll. The Warrens have visited the cemetery several times, and have claimed to have captured the White Lady on video and audio. They have also written a book about the cemetery, called Graveyard, which contains photos and stories of their encounters. The Warrens believe that the White Lady is a powerful and intelligent spirit, who can manifest herself in different ways. They also believe that she is not the only ghost in the cemetery, but one of many. Another ghost that has been reported in the cemetery is Red Eyes, a malevolent and terrifying entity. Red Eyes is named after its most distinctive feature, a pair of glowing red eyes that appear in the darkness. Red Eyes is said to hide in the bushes or behind the gravestones, and watch the visitors of the cemetery. Sometimes, it will emerge from its hiding place, and chase or attack the intruders. Red Eyes is said to be very fast and agile, and can jump over the fence or the wall. Red Eyes is also said to be very loud and aggressive, and can make growling, hissing, or screaming noises. Red Eyes is believed to be a demonic or evil spirit, who feeds on fear and pain. The origin of Red Eyes is also unknown, but there are some speculations. One speculation is that Red Eyes is the ghost of a murderer, who was executed and buried in the cemetery. He is angry and bitter, and wants to harm anyone who comes near his grave. Another speculation is that Red Eyes is the ghost of a victim, who was tortured and killed in the cemetery. He is traumatized and tormented, and wants to scare away anyone who reminds him of his ordeal. Another speculation is that Red Eyes is not a ghost at all, but a creature of unknown origin, who lives in the cemetery. He is territorial and predatory, and wants to protect his domain. Union Cemetery is a place that fascinates and frightens many people, who are drawn to its history and mystery. The cemetery is a hotspot for paranormal activity, and has been featured in many books, shows, and documentaries. The cemetery is also a place that warns and challenges people, who are curious and brave enough to enter its gates. The cemetery is a place that holds many secrets and surprises, and maybe even some answers. But be careful, because you might not like what you see, or what sees you. Number 3, Dudleytown, Cornwall, Connecticut. Our third location is Dudleytown, a ghost town in the northwest corner of Connecticut. Dudleytown was founded in the 1740s by the Dudley family, who were allegedly cursed by a witch in England. The town was plagued by misfortune, disease, death, and madness, until it was abandoned in the 1800s. Today, the town is part of a private forest preserve, and access is prohibited to the public. However, some people have managed to sneak in and explore the ruins of the town, only to encounter terrifying phenomena. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures, glowing orbs, and demonic creatures. Others say they have experienced a sense of dread, oppression, and silence, as if the town is devoid of any life. Some even say they have lost their sanity or their lives after visiting Dudleytown. The town was named after the Dudley family, who were descendants of Edmund Dudley, a minister and advisor to King Henry VII of England. Edmund Dudley was executed for treason by King Henry VIII in 1510, along with his associate Richard Empson. Some say that before his death, Edmund Dudley was cursed by a witch, and that the curse followed his bloodline to America. One of Edmund Dudley's sons, John Dudley, became the Duke of Northumberland, and tried to overthrow King Edward VI in 1553. He failed, and was beheaded along with his son, Guilford Dudley, and his daughter-in-law, Lady Jane Grey, who was briefly the Queen of England for 9 days. Another son, Robert Dudley, became the Earl of Leicester, and was the favorite of Queen Elizabeth I. He was accused of murdering his first wife, Amy Robsart, who died of a mysterious fall. He also had a son, Robert Dudley Jr., who died of dysentery while leading an expedition to South America. One of Robert Dudley's cousins, William Dudley, emigrated to Guilford, Connecticut in 1639. His descendants moved to Cornwall in the 1740s, and settled in a valley that became known as Dudleytown. They were joined by other families, such as the Griffiths, the Tanners, the Hollisters, and the Pattersons. The town was never officially incorporated, but it had a church, a school, a sawmill, and a blacksmith shop. The town was mainly a farming community, but it also had some involvement in the iron industry. The town's decline began in the late 1700s, when the soil became exhausted and the crops failed. The town also suffered from several tragedies and calamities, such as fires, floods, diseases, murders, suicides, and disappearances. Some of the incidents that are attributed to the curse include: in 1792, Gershon Hollister, a resident of Dudleytown, was killed by a lightning strike while working in his barn. In 1804, General Herman Swift, a Revolutionary War hero who married a Dudley, went insane and died. Some say he was driven mad by the ghosts of his enemies. In 1824, Horace Greeley, a famous journalist and politician, visited Dudleytown with his wife, Mary, who was suffering from tuberculosis. She died shortly after their visit, and some say she was haunted by the spirits of Dudleytown. In 1846, John Patrick, a farmer who lived in Dudleytown, killed his wife and children with an axe, and then committed suicide. Some say he was possessed by a demon. In 1872, Harriet Clark, a schoolteacher who lived in Dudleytown, went missing and was never found. Some say she was abducted by a creature from the woods. By the end of the 19th century, most of the residents of Dudleytown had left, either to seek better opportunities elsewhere, or to escape the curse. The town was completely deserted by the 1920s, and the buildings were either demolished or decayed. The land was bought by a group of philanthropists, who formed the Dark Entry Forest Association, and turned it into a nature preserve. The association forbids any public access to the town, and has posted signs and fences to keep trespassers out. Despite the warnings, many curious and adventurous people have tried to visit Dudleytown, hoping to witness some paranormal activity. Some of them have reported seeing strange lights, mists, shadows, and figures in the woods. Some have heard eerie sounds, such as whispers, screams, laughter, and growls. Some have felt cold spots, touches, and scratches. Some have experienced equipment malfunctions, such as cameras, phones, and flashlights failing or draining. Some have even claimed to have been attacked or possessed by the entities of Dudleytown. Dudleytown is considered one of the most haunted places in Connecticut, and has attracted the attention of many paranormal investigators and enthusiasts. Some of them, such as Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologists, have claimed to have evidence of the supernatural activity in Dudleytown. Others, such as the New England Historical Society, have debunked the myths and legends of Dudleytown, and have attributed the stories to exaggeration, fabrication, or coincidence. Whether you believe in the curse of Dudleytown or not, there is no doubt that the town has a dark and mysterious history, and a creepy and eerie atmosphere. The town is a place that intrigues and frightens many people, who are drawn to its secrets and mysteries. The town is also a place that warns and challenges people, who are curious and brave enough to enter its gates. The town is a place that holds many dangers and surprises, and maybe even some answers. But be careful, because you might not like what you find, or what finds you. Number 2, Norwich State Hospital, Preston, Connecticut. Our second location is another abandoned mental hospital, Norwich State Hospital, which operated from 1904 to 1996. Like Fairfield Hills, Norwich State Hospital was also known for its harsh and abusive treatments of its patients, many of whom died or killed themselves in the hospital. The hospital was also the site of a fire in 1919 that killed 2 employees, and a murder in 1993 that left a patient stabbed to death. The hospital is now closed and decaying, but the spirits of the dead are still trapped inside. People who have visited the hospital have reported seeing apparitions, hearing voices and noises, and feeling cold spots and touches. Some have also witnessed objects moving, doors slamming, and lights flickering. The hospital is considered one of the most haunted places in Connecticut, and maybe even in the country. The hospital was located on the banks of the Thames River, in the towns of Preston and Norwich, Connecticut. It was originally established as Norwich State Hospital for the Insane, and later shortened to Norwich Hospital. It opened its doors in October 1904, with 95 patients in one building. The hospital quickly expanded, and by the 1930s, it had over 20 buildings and 900 acres of land. The hospital contained various facilities, such as a church, a school, a laboratory, a kitchen, a barber shop, a greenhouse, and a farm. The hospital also had a network of underground tunnels that connected the buildings. The hospital was designed to accommodate different types of patients, such as the mentally ill, the criminally insane, the elderly, the chemically dependent, and the tubercular. The hospital employed various methods of treatment, such as medication, psychotherapy, electroshock therapy, hydrotherapy, and lobotomy. The hospital's history was marked by several tragedies and crimes that contributed to its reputation as a haunted place. Some of the incidents that occurred at the hospital include: in 1919, A fire broke out in the male ward, killing 2 employees and injuring several patients. The cause of the fire was never determined, but some suspect it was arson. In 1936, a patient named Margaret Gibson escaped from the hospital and drowned herself in the river. Her body was found 2 weeks later, and her ghost is said to haunt the riverbank. In 1943, a patient named Anna Corbin was found beaten to death in the basement of the administration building. Her killer was never caught, and her ghost is said to haunt the building. In 1953, a patient named James Collins killed another patient named John Brophy with a pair of scissors. Collins was found not guilty by reason of insanity, and was transferred to another hospital. In 1993, a patient named Mark Lassiter stabbed another patient named Robert Luddy to death in a bathroom. Lassiter was convicted of manslaughter, and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. By the 1970s, the hospital began to close some of its buildings, due to the deinstitutionalization movement and the decline of patients. By 1996, only 2 buildings were still in use, and the hospital was officially shut down. The hospital was sold to the town of Preston in 2009, and the demolition of the buildings began in 2011. The hospital was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1988, but that did not prevent its destruction. The hospital has been a popular destination for urban explorers, paranormal investigators, and thrill seekers, who have tried to access the hospital despite the security and the dangers. Some of them have claimed to have experienced supernatural phenomena, such as seeing ghosts, hearing noises, and feeling presences. Some of them have also claimed to have captured evidence of the paranormal, such as photos, videos, and recordings. Some of the ghosts that are said to haunt the hospital include the ghost of Anna Corbin, who is seen in the administration building, wearing a blue dress and carrying a clipboard. She is sometimes heard humming or singing, or asking for help. The ghost of Margaret Gibson, who is seen near the river, wearing a white gown and holding a rosary. She is sometimes heard crying or praying, or asking for forgiveness. The ghost of a nurse, who is seen in the medical building, wearing a white uniform and a cap. She is sometimes heard calling out names or numbers, or checking on patients. The ghost of a doctor, who is seen in the surgical building, wearing a white coat and a mask. He is sometimes heard performing operations or giving orders, or laughing maniacally. The ghost of a soldier, who is seen in the veterans building, wearing a green uniform and a helmet. He is sometimes heard marching or saluting, or screaming in pain. Norwich State Hospital is a place that fascinates and frightens many people, who are drawn to its history and mystery. The hospital is a hotspot for paranormal activity, and has been featured in many books, shows, and documentaries. The hospital is also a place that warns and challenges people, who are curious and brave enough to enter its gates. The hospital is a place that holds many secrets and surprises, and maybe even some answers. But be careful, because you might not like what you see, or what sees you. Number 1, the Warren Occult Museum, Monroe, Connecticut. And finally, our number 1 location is the Warren Occult Museum, the private collection of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous paranormal investigators and demonologists. The museum contains hundreds of artifacts and items that are related to the Warrens' cases, such as haunted dolls, cursed objects, and demonic relics. The most infamous item in the museum is Annabelle, a Raggedy Ann doll that is possessed by a malevolent spirit. The doll has been responsible for several attacks and deaths, and is kept in a glass case with a warning sign. The museum is not open to the public, but the Warrens occasionally offer tours and lectures to those who are interested in the occult. However, be careful what you touch or look at, because you might unleash something evil that you can't escape. The museum is located in Monroe, Connecticut, in the basement of the Warrens' former home. The museum was established in 1952, when the Warrens founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. The Warrens were devout Catholics, and believed that many of the phenomena they encountered were caused by demonic forces. They dedicated their lives to investigating and combating the supernatural, and helping people who were afflicted by it. The Warrens were involved in many famous and controversial cases, such as the Amityville Horror, the Enfield Poltergeist, the Perron family, and the Snedeker family. The Warrens also wrote several books about their experiences, and inspired many movies and shows, such as The Conjuring, Annabelle, and The Haunting in Connecticut. The museum showcases some of the most dangerous and disturbing items that the Warrens collected from their investigations. The museum claims to have the largest collection of occult items in the world, and has been described as a museum of the damned. The museum features items such as Annabelle, a Raggedy Ann doll that was given to a young nurse named Donna in 1970. The doll soon began to exhibit strange behavior, such as moving on its own, writing messages, and leaving bloodstains. The Warrens determined that the doll was possessed by a demon, who pretended to be the spirit of a dead girl named Annabelle Higgins. The demon tried to kill Donna's friend, Lou, by choking him and scratching him. The Warrens took the doll away, and placed it in a glass case with a sign that reads "Warning, positively do not open." The doll is still active, and has been blamed for causing accidents, injuries, and deaths to those who mock or challenge it. The Shadow Doll, a puppet-like doll that was used in black magic rituals. The doll has the ability to visit people in their dreams, and kill them by stopping their hearts. The doll also emits a high-pitched laughter, and can move its eyes and mouth. The doll is kept in a glass case, and is covered by a cloth to prevent it from making eye contact with anyone. The Conjuring Mirror, a black mirror that was used for scrying, or seeing visions of the past, present, or future. The mirror can also be used to summon spirits, but not all of them are friendly. The mirror is said to show images of ghosts, demons, and monsters, and can also affect the mood and behavior of those who look into it. The mirror is kept in a wooden frame, and is covered by a cloth to prevent accidental exposure. The Satanic Idol, a wooden statue that resembles a horned creature with wings and claws. The statue was found in the woods of Connecticut, near an old stone altar. The statue is believed to be a representation of a pagan god, or a demon. The statue radiates a powerful negative energy, and can cause misfortune and illness to those who are near it. The statue is kept in a glass case, and is surrounded by crosses and holy water. The organ, a musical instrument that was owned by a German family in the 1970s. The organ was haunted by the spirit of a man who died of a heart attack while playing it. The organ would play by itself, usually at night, and sometimes play music that was not in its repertoire. The organ also had a voice, and would speak in German, English, and Latin. The organ would mock, threaten, and curse anyone who tried to stop it or get rid of it. The Warrens took the organ, and silenced it by placing holy relics and blessed salt on it. The organ is still intact, but does not play anymore. These are just some of the many items that are displayed in the museum, each with its own story and history. The museum is a testament to the work and legacy of the Warrens, who passed away in 2006 and 2019, respectively. The museum is now run by their son-in-law, Tony Spera, who is also a paranormal investigator. The museum is not open to the public, due to zoning issues, but Spera occasionally organizes events and tours for those who want to see the museum. Spera also offers online tours and lectures, and sells merchandise and memorabilia related to the museum and the Warrens. The Warren Occult Museum is a place that fascinates and frightens many people, who are interested in the paranormal and the occult. The museum is a treasure trove of haunted and cursed objects, and has been featured in many books, shows, and documentaries. The museum is also a place that warns and challenges people, who are curious and brave enough to enter its doors. The museum is a place that holds many dangers and surprises, and maybe even some answers. But be careful, because you might not like what you touch or look at, because you might unleash something evil that you can't escape. That's it for this episode of Top 5 Haunted Locations. I hope you enjoyed it, and learned something new. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more creepy content. And don't forget to comment below, and let us know which location you found the most scary, or if you have any suggestions for future episodes. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay spooky.